Let's begin by painting a picture of the world Lady Murasaki Shikibu was born into. The time was Japan's Heian period, a golden age of art, literature, and elegance that spanned the late 8th to the 12th century. In the aristocratic circles of the imperial court, beauty was not simply a gift, it was a craft. Women like Lady Murasaki were celebrated not only for their aesthetic appeal, but for their refinement, intelligence, and their ability to wield words like a sword. Her name remains legendary, tied perpetually to her magnum opus, The Tale of Genji, considered by many to be the world's first novel. But who was she really? And how did her beauty and grace reflect the soul of her era? Stay with us as we unlock the enigma of Lady Murasaki Shikibu, a woman who turned ink into immortality. Picture this: a delicate frame seated behind a screen, her face partially hidden, as was customary for Heian-era noblewomen. Yet her presence alone compels attention. Portraits and descriptions of Lady Murasaki paint her as the embodiment of Heian ideals of beauty, cascading black hair so long it nearly reached the floor, her skin as pale as ivory, accentuated by the soft, luminescent sheen of rice powder. Her eyebrows, shaved and redrawn high on the forehead to reflect the taste of her time, and her crimson-stained lips completed the captivating image. Yet beyond the visual, she carried herself with a poise so disarming it could silence a crowded court. In Heian, Japan, a woman's beauty was deeply entwined with her skills in poetry and calligraphy. Lady Murasaki excelled in both. Picture her poised with a brush, crafting elegant kanji characters, or composing a waka poem so evocative that it would spark an audible gasp from its recipient. Letters weren't just means of communication, they were vehicles of emotion and intellect. Her writing desk became her stage, and her words, her performance. What set Lady Murasaki apart, however, was not just her poetic skill, but her ability to reflect human emotions with piercing clarity, something she poured into The Tale of Genji. Now, let's talk about her magnum opus, The Tale of Genji. Imagine crafting a work so vivid and emotionally complex that it remains relevant over 1,000 years later. The story follows the life of Hikaru Genji, a radiant prince navigating a world of love, loss, and political intrigue. While the book is centered around Genji, it is the women in his life who often steal the narrative spotlight. Through their stories, Lady Murasaki conveys a depth of emotional realism that breaks through the limitations of her time. Their voices are whispers of the everyday struggles and social constraints faced by women in Heian society, and through them, Lady Murasaki's own voice echoes. But Lady Murasaki was not just about intellect. She also encapsulated resilience. Orphaned at a young age, she quickly gained a reputation as a prodigy, mastering Chinese, a language considered the domain of men. This intellectual audacity caught the attention of the court, leading to her appointment as a lady-in-waiting to Empress Shoshi. Imagine a young Murasaki stepping into the imperial court, not as a mere accessory to adorn its halls, but as a luminary whose wit and skill were her armor. Her contemporaries documented her as fiercely independent, a quiet observer in a world brimming with intrigue. Narrative flourishes suggest she was unafraid to eschew the frivolities of court life, channeling her energies into intellect and artistry instead. Now, let's explore the mysterious calligraphy gatherings of the Heian era. Imagine Lady Murasaki seated among similarly gifted women, their sleeves brushing against obsidian inkstones, their deft hands sketching intricate poems for games called uta awazi, poetry battles. These gatherings were as much about showcasing linguistic prowess as they were about creating an aura of intellectual eroticism. Each fleeting verse was designed to captivate, to charm, to preserve one's place in the complex social web of courtly existence. It was in such spaces, perhaps, that Lady Murasaki gleaned the countless emotions and social intricacies that would later color the lives of her characters in The Tale of Genji. Another fascinating aspect? Fashion. Heian court attire remains one of the most visually elaborate sets of garments in history. Picture Lady Murasaki clothed in a junihito, a 12-layered robe of cascading silk in hues that changed with the seasons. These layers required immense skill to wear. The arrangement spoke volumes about a person's status and taste. But the weight wasn't only physical. The garments held a symbolic heaviness. Each swish of a sleeve crafted from intricate brocade was a statement, a gesture more potent than any words could convey. Imagine Lady Murasaki drifting through a corridor clad in her junihito, her robes whispering tales of their own. But let's not forget the poetry in her details, the smallest nuances of her being that made her an icon. The scent of her, perfumed with rare floral essences brought from distant lands, would mingle softly with the breezes of Kyoto. Her calligraphy on handmade washi paper was breathtaking, each stroke imbued with grace. Imagine even her smallest tokens, a hairpin perhaps, or a fan painted with delicate plum blossoms, each a piece of art and a reflection of her soul. Even in mundane moments, Lady Murasaki embodied grace and artistry. Ultimately, Lady Murasaki Shikibu was more than her artistry, elegance, or beauty. She was a pioneer. Imagine living in an era where a woman's role was circumscribed by stringent social norms, and yet crafting a story so universal, so deeply human, that it transcended time and place. Lady Murasaki achieved what most could not: immortality, not just as a writer but as a cultural icon, a touchstone of what makes us human. And why does she matter today? That's the big question, isn't it? Lady Murasaki teaches us that beauty isn't merely skin deep. Her beauty lay in her ability to see the world differently, to articulate it, to weave life's complexities into something tangible, comprehensible, and beautiful. Even today, she's a reminder that strength, grace, and ingenuity can carve an unbreakable legacy. Perhaps the most enduring lesson we can draw from her life is this: true beauty doesn't merely dazzle, it illuminates. Lady Murasaki Shikibu, a woman of letters, elegance, and timeless impact. Let her story inspire us to find beauty in intellect, art, and the eternal dance of the human spirit. After all, as she proved, often it's the quietest voices that echo the loudest down the corridors of history. Stay tuned for more episodes in this series, where we grace the screen with timeless figures who continue to inspire. Until next time, let us remember, beauty transcends time.